It's the matchup presented by DraftKings. I'm your host, Travis Fulton. Thank you for making us part of your day as we roll straight in to the month of June. And I think things are getting somewhat more back to normal here across the United States. Of course, 1 year ago, when the tour came back from the hiatus with COVID, this was one of the venues that they went to first. In fact, they were there back-to-back weeks. Muirfield Village, you may recall, Workday stepped in. They were the first go. Collin Morikawa won it in a exciting playoff, I can remember, with Justin Thomas. I was so excited just to watch golf, and then we were treated to that. And then the following week, we came back and played the Memorial, and it was tough conditions because they let it go. They had to tear it up right after Jon Rahm blew the field away. Remember, he had an 8-shot lead going in to the final day, and we're back at Muirfield 1 year later. We have a terrific field. And this guy sitting next to me, you probably know him from CBS Sports, and he writes a lot about the NFL, but he's a big golf guy too. So I sent him a note. I said, hey, Will, why don't you come on and talk golf? We got a great field. Let's break it down on the matchup. Will Brinson joins me here from North Carolina. Thanks, my man.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm pumped up about this. You know, I went, we're recording this on Memorial Day on Sunday evening. I went to the Carolina Hurricanes Tampa Bay Lightning playoff game. First live sporting event in like 18 months. I mean, what a freaking rush. 16,000 people cheering. And it's starting to, with golf too, Travis, I think like you're starting to see a difference with the way that these guys play out there and the way that the guys react because the crowds are getting back and you're starting to see it's feeling a little bit more normal. I'll be very curious to see how this plays out, over the next year and a half from a major perspective because Collin Morikawa, who I like this weekend, we'll get into him, but he won his first major without crowds.
Yep.
And you're gonna wonder, how will that pressure affect some of these younger guys? Because golf right now absolutely loaded, and we got a loaded field this weekend.
Yeah, it's a big field. Golf is cruising. A little surprising last week. Colonial, Jason Kokrak gets his second win to join Stuart Sink, who's got 2 wins, and then Bryson DeChambeau, who has won here at Memorial. 2 unlikely names, but we've been treated to some good stuff. Phil Mickelson, of course, gets his 6th major title. And now we roll into here, top 5 in the FedEx are here. This is a great golf course. The players, love this place. They also like the milkshakes too, by the way. I've been here a couple times. Milkshakes are really, really good, but that's neither here or there. Par 72, Jack tore this place up right after Jon Rahm putted out last year. They were waiting with backhoes.
Well, they were doing it. When those guys were on the back 9, they were ripping up the front 9. It was crazy.
And they had to redo some tees and some other things. Anyway, they put about 100 yards on it. It's 7,500 yards. And a golf course that when you break it down, you've had a mixed bag win here. Of course, Tiger's been dominant here. Matsuyama won here back in 14. Jon Rahm, I mentioned, in 20. Cantley in 19. We see some guys with some length do very well here, but we've seen short hitters do it too. Jason Dufner won back here in 17. Dirk Mcgirt in 16. David Lingmurth.
Hey, my guy, Willie Mcgirt. I played with him at the Wyndham Championship Media Day. One of our guys bowed out. So Dirk Mcgirt had to roll in, and he had played a couple holes with us. Just an unlikely tour winner at the Memorial. A great dude.
Yeah, I was actually there that year with PGA Tour live coverage.
Nice.
And he pulled it out. And then Bryson, we know what he can do now, but he would want it back in 18. That was a different Bryson then. He wasn't overpowering the golf course, but now he's back with his distance, looking to get that approach game back like he did back in 2018. So the way we do it here, Will, we go through this line by line. All right. So we've got the top end players, 11,000, 10,000. We're going to go through those names, tell you who we like, don't like, and then we'll each pick one, go head to head, and then we'll do it in the 9s, 8s, and then we'll have some fun in the 7s, and I'll explain that when we get there, and then we'll give them some value picks in the 6,000. But this is a golf course, before we get to the top end players, you kind of have to have the whole game here. I think last week you look at Colonial, a golf course that you can kind of get by with a marginal short game. Kokrak, I think, was a good play last week because he can get a little clunky with the short game. He wins losing 2 in strokes gain around the green. You're probably not going to get by with that this week. These are smaller greens. You've got long grass around the greens. Very difficult short game shot. Scrambling percentage goes down here, but the fairways are pretty wide off the tee. So, I think all guys can play here off the tee, generous fairways, but you've got to be sharp in the approach game, and you've got to have some short game here, and of course, and get it done on these bent grass greens.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm not a course history truth or anything like that. I do think course history is very important when I'm picking what guys I want to play in DraftKings and who I'm betting on, because at least for me as a golfer, I know that tracks that I've played before, I play better. I mean, that's just course knowledge. So course history is kind of misleading. It's guys who understand the course. And I also think there's a bit of like designer knowledge that matters to me.
Yeah.
I play better on Donald Ross courses. That's what I grew up playing. It's what I'm used to playing. The greens, I don't mind the greens, and I sort of understand the layouts better. And I think there are also guys who play Jack Nicklaus courses better. I think that's very important when you look at the Memorial, because as you point out, Travis, with the around the green stuff, Jack, people are always like, it's a second shot course. Well, all courses are second shot courses because you have to win on approach. But Jack wants to make sure that if you aren't precise with your irons, if you aren't precise coming into the greens, that there is going to be a demanding challenge for the guy who misses, and he wants to make you pay. And so if you don't have that short game, if you don't have that scrambling ability, you're in deep poo, because you're going to be off the green in that long grass that you're talking about. And at 7,500 yards, I mean, this is not Kiowa at the PGA, but this is not a short course. And I saw Jack had tweeted out a video. It was some of the changes that he did. And my favorite part of it was, he's like, and on 16, we made the green where it will now accept golf balls. It's like, oh, all right, well, that's fun. So this is a challenging course. It does require a complete game. But I will probably be looking towards guys who have a good history of playing well on Jack courses.
Yeah. I look forward to getting into that. And you mentioned tough course. The back nine is really tough. It has the 5 hardest holes on the golf course. The hardest hole is 18. Second hardest hole is 16, which is now accepting balls into the par 3. And then third hardest hole is 10, brutal par 4. And then you've got, let's see, the fourth hardest hole is 17, which plays about 480. And then the other par 3 is the 12th, beautiful hole. That's the 5th hardest hole. So you better make some hay in the front usually. And then when you get to the back nine, you got a few holes there. 11, the par 5, 15, the par 5, 14, the short par 4, which is not easy depending upon the pin. But you've got your work cut out for you when you get to the back nine. All right.
And I was going to say, just real quickly, I think Jack likes to do that too, where he's going to make you got to earn it down the stretch, particularly on Sunday on those final holes. You got what is it, Copperhead with the snake den or whatever. Snake pit. He likes a group of holes that is going to challenge the golfer, particularly the guys in the final group.
Yep. All right, here we go. We'll get right into it. There's Spieth kicking us off. No surprise. I think he's right now, if I had to pick, he's the number 1 player in the world. I mean, he's certainly playing the most consistent when it comes to the calendar year. He's at 11-3. John Rahm, defending champ, 11,100. When he won here last year, that moved him to the number 1 player in the world. DeChambeau comes in at 10-9. There's McIlroy, 10,600. Colin Morikawa, 10,400. And then JT found a little form with the putter last week. Has to be encouraged, 10,200. You look at those names, what jumps out to you as maybe 1 or 2 guys that you're really liking this week?
Well, Morikawa is the guy I'm going to go to here. I think he's a perfect fit for a Jack course guy. And, certainly the putter can be a problem. I think he's been messing around with the claw grip or whatever. And you don't like to hear guys finagling with their grips. But when I look at this group at the prices at 10-4, first of all, I'm taking Rahm over Spieth if I'm getting a $200 discount. I'm just not a Bryson guy. I'm also not a Spieth guy, but that's neither here nor there. Morikawa for me is the spot here. I'm a little worried about Rory's game. He won the Wells Fargo, of course, but a lot of that was with the putter. And then JT, as generous as he's been lately with getting Big Mike the check out of his own pocket, which was awesome. I don't know that karma is just going to suddenly fix his game. He's clearly working on something. So Morikawa for me is the look here on a course I feel like fits his game really well. And obviously he has had some success.
If Morikawa putts at all, if he putts at all,
at 0, he's top 5.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if he's like, oh gosh, I just happened to go plus 2.5, he wins. Yep. I mean, he's so dominant with his ball striking. It is insane. It's Tiger-esque. strokes gain approach. And, you know, he loses consistently 2.5, and finishes in the top 10. Yeah. Man, he's tough to watch in those short putts, but now he's going back to a place wasn't set up like the Memorial, albeit with the work day, but he's putting on those greens. So he has to feel like, okay, I'm going back to a place that I've had some success on, and maybe that wakes up the putter. If it does, I agree with you at 10,400. He's very popular there at that. At that price.
I didn't realize this until just looking, but last year, so he gained 4.7 strokes on the field putting at the workday, and then promptly the next week lost 8.3 at the Memorial, which is, how is that even? You know, maybe that's coming off a win, and he's just sort of lost focus or something. That's pretty wild.
Yeah. I was just that was one of the craziest stats of the year last year. Those back-to-back weeks. I mean, all of a sudden, he shows up at WGC, goes +4 and wins. I mean, that's what's going to happen. He's that scary, right? When he goes and makes putts, he's going to win. He is that good of a ball striker. Yeah, it feels, Bryson, we know, is longer. The approach game is struggling, and you can't struggle in the approach game and pay that price at 10,900, which I tend to agree with you. It just feels like in that group, the guy that's due is Jon Rahm. I mean, he is stuck in neutral. He's like, man, I'm married. I got a new baby. Now I just need my damn clubs to wake up and let me get out of neutral. But I think the clubs have been a little bit of the issue, the switch to Callaway. I think he's definitely struggling with that a little bit. But it just feels like, doesn't it? Like it's coming, right? There's a big week coming. Maybe this is the week.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with I think the club switch is underrated, and he played well in his first tournament after moving over. But I always think back. I mean, it took Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy, two Hall of Fame golfers, right? They both switched their clubs at one point with the Nike stuff, and it took them a while to adjust. I mean, you're switching your golf clubs. Like, you're not gonna. Yeah. They're different golf clubs. It's going to be a bit of an adjustment. You throw the baby in the mix. I agree. Rahm is trending in the right direction. Top 10 at the PGA. He had that missed cut at the Wells Fargo, which was a little odd, but 3 other top 10 since February. And at some point it's going to pop. And no problem with Rahm there if you're willing to pay up. I certainly prefer him over Spieth. Yeah,
Spieth got it done last week with the putter, +7. Irons have cooled off a little the last 2 weeks, but it's good to see him back. Obviously, Spieth is going to be tough anywhere when he's keeping the ball in play, and he's got the wedge and the putter with the premium in his hand, and he's looking to he's looking to win this tournament for the first time. I think this is one that he's got marked for him. Like, this is one that I think would mean a lot to them. But if we had to kind of narrow it down here, I agree with you on JT. I think he's still, even though positive step last week, he did finish T40, but the putter was at least above water. I think Morikawa, I tend to agree with you there. It sounds like he's your guy, Morikawa. I'll go ahead. Is that right? Morikawa's going to be your boy here?
Colin's my guy. I wish, in the outright market, I was hoping he'd be like closer to 20-1 with the field. I think he's 16-1 or 15-1. I still probably don't mind backing him at that, just because I think he's going to pop another one off. This is just sort of when he got rolling last year, and would not be surprised at all if he won. But yeah, so Morikawa would be my guy in the 10s, unless he's sitting at like 25-30% ownership. Then I'm out.
Yeah. Morikawa 16-1 right now to win. Rahm actually moved into the favorite.
9-1 or something, I think.
Yeah, he's just at 11 now. DraftKings Sportsbook 11-1. Victor Hovland 15, JT 15, McIlroy 16, Morikawa 16, Spieth 16. A little surprising there. Spieth at 16. I thought he'd be right now down closer to 12, 11. All right, I'll give you Rahm. He's due. It's time to put 4 together.
What's wrong with Jon Rahm?
All right, let's move on here. Down to the 9,000. So many good names here. My goodness. Victor Hovland, 9,900. Schauffele, 97. Cantley, 95. He's won here. Matsuyama's won here, 94. Connors could be a good place, 93. Finau, 92. Patrick Reed, 91. Sheffler, people probably, I would say with Sheffler, jumping ship a little bit with him at 9,000, considering the miscut last week at Colonial. Let's start at the bottom here. All right, well, let's start at the bottom. Give me someone there. Sheffler, Reed, Finau, Connors, any of those attractive?
Scotty Sheffler is my favorite golfer in the entire world, outside of Phil Mickelson, of course. Favorite young golfer like Scotty. Okay. I only wear rope hats because of Scotty Sheffler, my favorite golfer out there. He is gonna break through and win something soon. I have no problem with him at this course, but I don't think this is the spot where he comes through and just wins. To me, we talk about the short game and sort of how punishing Jack courses can be. I think you'll see a couple slip ups from Scotty. Not necessarily a great bent grass putter. Has not been, he's not putted well at the PGA. Miscut at the Charles Schwab. His approach game has been off and on. So and same thing with Connors too. It's like the price. These guys are just creeped up where the price is a little too much relative to the other names in there. I think Vic Hovland is a great play. He's a guy where you start Hovland and Morikawa, or even you start your lineups with Hovland and then you add on Patrick Cantley, who I really like. Cantley was the first guy I bet outright 20-1. I went back and sorted. I used Fantasy National to do this, but I looked at the last 50 rounds, bent grass, Jack courses. Cantley actually tied with Adam Scott and Matt Kuchar for most strokes gained, and that's over 24 rounds for Cantley. So it's not terribly small of a sample size. It's just a guy who would normally be in that 10K range, I think. But because his recent form hasn't been fantastic, he's a little bit of a discount. So I really like Cantley as well as Hovland. And I think Patrick Reed and Tony Finau could be sneaky options depending on their own. Nobody likes to play Patrick Reed, right? No, I mean, people hate playing Patrick Reed. You get Patrick Reed like 9% owned. And if it's a scrambler's course, I don't think that Jack would love the idea of Patrick Reed playing well on his courses, but he does. And there's nothing you can do about it.
Patrick Reed, well, he finished 10th here last year. I don't know how much you can really take from last year because Jack let the course go. That was a completely different course, especially on the weekend.
Yeah.
You go back to, Patrick Reed didn't play in 19. 18, he was T29, 17, T57, and then top 10 in 2016. So he's shown, it's a typical Patrick Reed lineup right there. I mean, he's, like, you look at that and you're like, okay, yeah, maybe, yeah, okay, yeah. Nothing jumps out at you, right, with Patrick Reed, but yet when he starts sniffing the lead late on a Sunday, we know he can get it done.
Yep.
Cantley, we know, loves his place. He won it in 19, fourth in 18. He finally got out of that miscut streak, had 4 in a row, showed some form there as of late. So maybe this could be a get right with Cantley and get things back on the train again, because this is certainly a good spot. I think much like Romp, Schauffele feels a little stuck in neutral. Mm-hmm. It kind of started with the putter and then it leaked into some other things. And all of a sudden he starts showing some signs. And I'm like, all right, Xander is back 14th at the Wells Fargo, 3rd at the Masters, and he misses the cut at the PGA. I mean, that's like, okay. So where we at with Xander Schauffele coming in here, paying the 9,700, and then once again, overlooked is Matsuyama. This is a good place for Matsuyama because, look,
absolutely,
you've got to have those difficult wedge shots around the green. And Matsuyama is one of the best short game players, like Patrick Reed, in the game. And at 9,400, I could see myself, Will, starting the lineup with Morikawa and going to Matsuyama. Or
I like it.
Yeah.
The thing about Matsuyama too, where look, the man is a well-known fan of sake, and he won the Masters, right? First Japanese winner ever.
Yep.
I'd be drinking a lot of sake over the next couple of months, and I wanted to see how he looked when he came back to action, and I thought he looked really good at the Byron, and then again at the PGA. 39th and 23rd, lost 3.3 strokes gained putting at the PGA, and still finished in the top 25. So the way he's been hitting on approach, if he can, we talk about guys who can putt to zero. You get Colin and Hideki, and they both putt to zero. You've got 2 guys in the top 10 more than likely.
Yeah, that's right. I think I agree with that. And as I keep going down this list here, Finau, who finished 8th here last year, and then Connors. I think I'm going to pass on Connors.
Price is too high. It's just I love Corey Connors, my favorite Canadian golfer, right? But it's just too expensive.
Yeah,
it is in 8Ks.
Well, and his short game and putting just, kind of dipping now here again all of a sudden. Last 4 weeks, ball striking on point, +5 every week in approach, +2, 3 and off the tee. But around the green, a little clunky, a little sloppy as of late with the putter. And it's like, you can't do that at Muirfield Village paying that kind of price. I'm probably going to pass on Connors. Finau, look, it might be the safest bet in the 9,000s. I mean, another top 10 last week. He's 9,200. I got to tell you, I think Matsuyama and Finau are probably the two that I'm looking at right now the most. Waiting on Schauffele, encouraged by Cantley, but I think I'm going to go lower priced in the 9,000. So I'll give you Matsuyama at 94.
Okay. Cantley is probably my one. I would just throw out too that Victor Hovland over the last, and I obviously don't have the master stroke games. I could look it up on Rick Gaiman's site, but I'm not going to do it live. He, over the last 3 tournaments has gained strokes around the green, which is very interesting because if, you talk about how you have to be able to do that at Muirfield, if he has turned any sort of corner with his short game and chipping, this is a dangerous man. Third, and 30th. And I would guess that because he's sitting at that 9-9 range where people are going to hit the 10s and then dip into Finau there, you'll probably get Victor Hovland at a reasonable ownership rate given his recent form.
Yep. No, I think those are fair points. Victor Hovland works with Jeff Smith, who's done a really good job with him. And that's kind of my trade more on the instruction side. And in fact, I talked to Jeff about it on the podcast and just some of the things that they've done. And you can see the progression. And man, we've got 2 young guns and Hovland and Morikawa, who if they can just clean up their deficiencies just a little bit, Morikawa with the putter, which it's a major weakness at times. Yeah. And then of course, Hoffman with the chipping, which is a major weakness at times. Man, they clean those up. Look out, because they are Morikawa probably more than Hovland, but man, can they go off the tee and into the greens with their irons?
It would be an entirely different podcast to talk about it, but I as I mentioned off the top, I find it is so awesome how golf has all these young players basically birthed from watching Tiger Woods dominate for so long. And now, I mean, the group of guys who are out there, it's wild. Like when these older guys, Phil and Tiger, step away and start lighting up the Champions Tour, golf will be in a very good place because of this young crop that has moved in.
Yeah. And Scotty Sheffler, he's another young one who's 8th at the PGA. We saw him really go last year down the stretch in the FedEx Cup. Missed a cut last week. Putter really struggled. And that's kind of been, I think for Sheffler to get into that conversation with these two, he's got to become a better approach game player. His driving's very good, but he's got to become a better iron player. All right, moving on to the 8,000s. We start with one of my guys. There he is, Sammy Burns at 8,900. Neiman 88, Fitzpatrick 87, Cameron Smith playing great golf at 86, Louis 85, Shane Lowry playing some solid golf, 84. Charlie Hoffman getting no respect at 8,300. Sunjay M, 82. Horschel, 81. And then Ricky Fowler and Keegan Bradley round us out at the 8,000s. Take me to a name or two that you're looking at.
I'm going to go down to the very bottom. No, not Ricky Fowler. I'm not Ricky. I love Ricky. I want him to win. I want him to get back, but he should not be in the 8Ks. He's playing like a high 6K guy these days. The name that I think is really interesting is Keegan Bradley. And I bet him outright 55-1 maybe before we started the show. I mentioned that how I sorted these rounds by, jack courses, bent greens. Keegan checks in at 44th in terms of total strokes gained over those 50 rounds. He's played 40 rounds at jack courses. He is 9th in terms of ball striking, 3rd off the tee, 12th tee to green in these same metrics. And no surprise, what's killing Keegan when you sort by the last 50 rounds? His putter, because he's notoriously been a terrible putter. But when you dig into Keegan, one, his best surface putting is bent grass. And then when you look at his last 7 tournaments, he's only lost strokes of the field putting twice. And that is I sort of wonder if there isn't You mentioned the short game with Victor Hovland. Like, this is something that I think Keegan's really been focused on and really been working on. And if he's turned the corner with his putting, people won't want to like Keegan, but the way that he hits on approach and his ability to get off the tee, if he's turned any sort of corner with his putting, he is going to be a threat. And at 8,000, I think it's a really nice price.
Yeah, it's been cool to see Bradley playing good again. This is by far the best run of putting that he's been on.
Oh, yeah.
He hasn't played great here, but a lot of that, induced from his putter. T68 last year, cut 19. And then he had a T23 in 18, and then he did have a top 10 in 2016. All right, so
I mean, in the 2 weeks in July last year with the workday, the Memorial, he lost 11.9 strokes to the field putting. That's a problem.
Yeah, he's definitely a different putter, right? Coming in, different putter coming in this year, way more confidence. And I would say Cameron Smith is definitely a different player coming in this year than last year. I gotta be honest with you, the 8,000s, there's nothing that really jumps out that I love. I mean, Louis playing great golf. It's easy to overlook Louis for some reason. Hoffman has not played well on this course for whatever reason. He's missed his last two cuts. But Charlie Hoffman in the 8,000s, him and Louis are probably playing the best golf. And then I would say Keegan would have to be close to that right there. And then Horschel as well, who's almost won twice this year, won the match play. But Cameron Smith, to me, has turned the corner as a golfer. I mean, he's turned the corner. And his putting is outstanding. His approach game is really improved. He gives up some distance off the tee, but you got big fairways here. And he's an excellent short game player. So can Cameron Smith come in and maybe, conquer this course a little bit because he hasn't played that great here? Fitzpatrick has. He finished third here last year. Neiman had a top 10 back in 2018. But if you want to go back to that, guys that have played well here, as you kicked off the show with, I think you'd have to look at the two guys to me that have played the best here in the 8,000s would be Ricky Fowler, who I know is different, but I'll say this to you, Will. I think Ricky Fowler went back to his old swing. I don't think he's working on anything now. To me, it's PGA where he played better. He looked like he was just up there swinging his old way, which is what he needs to do. And just quit playing golf swing and go play golf. And if that's the case, I think Ricky will start showing some form again, but it feels a little early. But Ricky's played very well here. 3 top 14s in the last 4 years. And then Horschel, I would say, is the other guy. Horschel, T13 last year, T9 in 2019. I mean, do we overlook the Gator, or what do you think?
Horschel I bet on as well. I think he's 55 or 60 to 1. Great course history here, playing really good golf. Got no problem with going to Billy in this spot. And I think that's interesting, Travis, when you talk about Ricky. Like, if Ricky can just turn his brain off and just sort of quit worrying about wearing orange on Sundays, quit worrying about the Corona commercials, just turn it all off, go play some golf, relax and enjoy yourself. And maybe he does turn a corner. And I hope he gets it back. I don't know that I could on a Wednesday night when it gets late and I'm pouring that red wine, I can probably galaxy brain myself into some Ricky Fowler if he's sub 5% used. But I'm probably looking at Horschel and Keegan here. Sung J M's betting market price was shocking. 55 to 1 feels a little bit long. My concern with Louis in this spot, I believe, wasn't the Arnold Palmer right before the Masters? Am I crazy? Isn't that right?
Yeah, API is, it's a couple weeks.
Yeah. Okay. But Louis had that Thursday morning withdrawal, and I had a lot of Louis in DK, and that hurt me. That hurt my heart, Louis. And as a result, I haven't had any Louis since then. And knowing that we got another major on the horizon, you just sort of wonder, he wouldn't do it again, would he? He's playing good golf. That's my only fear. That Thursday morning withdrawal ruins your week. And somebody yanks out of the tournament at the last second on Thursday morning.
Yeah. That is a very
no, excuse
positive.
Me.
That's a very that statement is correct when they withdraw like that. I think with Louis, I think that the split on the bench,
the players, then the Masters. Okay.
Yeah.
So, all right.
Yeah. I mean, he's playing really good golf. Second at the PGA, 8th at Valspar. I mean, he is he is putting the lights out right now, hitting the ball good. I don't think he likes these greens so much. The bent split certainly is his worst of the three.
Yeah.
And these are bent greens. I think a little bit of Poe in it. But I think that's what's held Louis back. I'm probably going to pass on Louis this year in this spot. I have a hard time getting on the right spot of Sanjay. I don't think this is, although Sanjay has showed a little bit more signs with his iron game getting back. I'm probably going to pass on him here as well. And I think I'll probably slide past Billy Horschel as well. I think your points on Keegan are well noted. But I think the guy for me here, I'm going to continue to go with two guys that have been very, very good to me. And I've got probably a little money in here just because I've stayed off some of the top guys. I'm probably going to stay with Cameron Smith and look for him to continue his good play coming in. And I think Charlie Hoffman at 8,300, although hasn't played well here. I think Charlie is a completely different player. I think there's three guys in this group, Cameron Smith, Charlie Hoffman, and Keegan Bradley, who are all coming into this event, and they're completely different players this year. Their best version of themselves that they've been in the last 2 or 3 years.
Agreed completely. And Charlie Hoffman, just finished top 5 at Charles Schwab. Thanks for that. I had him as a top 5 heading into that tournament, so it was very nice. Has not missed a cut since the Waste Management back in February, and has, I believe, 4 top 10s in that stretch. And the thing about Charlie Hoffman and Keegan Bradley, where you can really take advantage as a daily fantasy player, is that both of these guys have they're veterans of the tour, and so they have these, sort of there's a bias built in about these guys. Like, Charlie Hoffman can't win. Like, or Keegan Bradley, he won that major, but he's not going to win. These guys can win, and they've cleaned up their games. And I think if I were picking a group of guys who are breaking out this season in terms of maybe taking a step and moving up the, into a different tier of golfer, it would be Max Homa, Corey Connors, Charlie Hoffman, and Keegan Bradley. I think those 4 guys have just been playing at a different level than what we expected from them this year.
Yep, absolutely. And and to be honest with you, as I look at the 8,000s, just kind of putting a bow on it. I'll probably, I'm going to do multiple lineups, and those are the guys that I'll sprinkle in. But I'll be playing way more in the 7s. I think there's more guys here that I feel more confident about as we start getting down in the 7s. And I know some of my audience is going, well, what about Sam Burns, Travis? Because I've been touting the Sam Burns train, Will, for a long time. I was like, here comes Sam Burns, folks, well before he wins. This kid's going to win. He's going to win often because he wins in the approach game and he wins in putting. And that lines up when it comes to... I should have
included him as the 5th guy in that breakout list. Because Sam, and in fact, I honestly think, Travis, if he hadn't, that loss at the Genesis, he had this hiccup right after that for a couple of tournaments. I think just sort of had I think it hurt him. I think it hurt him bad to lose when he had that 54-hole lead, and he had to sort of go back and hit the reset button, and then he came right back out and found a way to win. And you're right. Once you get that first win, like, this dude's going to win tournaments.
Oh yeah, he's going to win. Yeah, he's that good. I think the next step for him now is probably to show he needs to improve on bent grass. I think he's a wonderful Bermuda putter. Yep. The guy can really go on Bermuda. Let's see him show some growth on bent. I'll probably pass on him just for that standpoint here at Memorial. All right, so we move on here now to the 7th. DraftKings Sportsbook is not only my favorite sportsbook, but also America's top-rated sportsbook. I love using DraftKings Sportsbook. It is easy to navigate, has plenty of instructions for new bettors, and nearly limitless ways to get in all the action. My friends and family have been loving DraftKings Sportsbook, and I know you will too. Listen to this great offer. DraftKings Sportsbook is putting you courtside with a chance to turn $1 into $100 in site credits. That's right. Pick any basketball team that is still in contention, bet $1, and if that team wins, you win $100 in site credits. Don't forget, DraftKings Sportsbook also offers great odds and promotions on baseball, hockey, and so much more all week long. DraftKings is safe, secure, and reliable, so you can deposit and withdraw your funds at your convenience. Download the top-rated DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TRAVIS when you sign up to turn $1 into $100 in free credits. Bet on the basketball team of your choice to win their game, and if they do, you will claim $100 in free credits. That's promo code Travis for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Wagers paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana, 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Which there's some names that I feel very comfortable with. Now, what we do here on the matchup wheel in the sevens is I'm going to start up top, and I'm just going to start going down here with the price, and you're going to stop me, okay, when there's a name that that you like. All right, here we go. So we start at the 7,900, Adam Scott.
I'm intrigued.
Oh, right out of the gate,
I
here
know,
he comes.
Immediately stop you to say Adam Scott. He has not played. He's been very up and down in terms of his recent form. So, gained over 7 strokes on approach at the Honda. Was okay at the Masters. Missed cut at the PGA. But he is a notoriously very good jack course player. So I'm at least looking that direction. Second here in 2019. I'm trying to remember. Did he even? I don't think he played here in 2020. The recent form spooks me a little bit, but I'm at least have eyebrow raised or eyes emoji on Adam Scott.
Yeah, and what Adam Scott's the kind of guy that he's proven. He can come out and just get things going again. He's certainly played this course many times. And oh, by the way, he finished second here back in 2019. So. Not too far of a stretch there. He is right now, DraftKings Sportsbook, as I open it up here, late on a Monday, 85-1 right now. So that's pretty tasty. Ricky Fowler mentioned earlier, 75-1. Sunjai's 70.
Give me Adam Scott at 85 over Ricky Fowler, 75.
Sam Burns is 60. Cameron Smith, 55. Charlie Hoffman, 55. Keegan, 50. So those are some of the names that we were mentioning earlier. That's what the odds are now. They change, of course. DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, continuing on, 79, Gary Woodland, who, went back to Butch, and I don't know. Good Woodland has shown some signs over the last couple of weeks. We'll move on. Leishman, 7,800. Loves this place.
Yep. Leash is and if you look at last year's leaderboard, there's a lot of international flair. So. Yeah. No problem with, you can go with the Leishman Cam Smith pairing. Don't let those guys get paired up on the weekend.
That's right.
They'll go low.
Yeah, that's right. Bubba, 78. I'll sign up for Bubba. I'm signing up for Bubba at 78. Okay. So last 24 rounds coming in. Strokes gained. Hottest players in the game. Who do you think the top 2 names are? Jordan Spieth, Bubba Watson.
I would not have guessed Bubba Watson.
Yeah, Jordan Spieth and Bubba Watson. Strokes gained. Last 24 rounds coming in. Bubba is playing some golf, and I'm here for it, folks. He has found a hot putter, and now he goes to Memorial. You got these big, wide fairways. Let's go. Let's go, Bubba. Let's keep it going. I like a top 10 out of Bubba, just like we got back in 2017. There's Jason Day, 7,700. Emiliano Grillo, 77. Played good last week.
He's not breaking my heart on these greens. No chance. Sorry. I love Grillo.
Yeah.
My guy. Can't do it, though.
Yeah, I'm going to pass, too. Christian Bizetten. We've seen his name flash a little bit here as of late. Perhaps his name was introduced about this time last year, T22 last year.
Yeah.
Played pretty well.
Good jack history too for Bez. I never end up on him, but nothing wrong with playing him here, I don't think.
Yeah. Bez, he's a great golf swing. I really enjoy his splits bent his second best. Bermuda is his best. I think the one thing with Bizetten right now, when you look at his game, he's a guy. He's kind of like his name is dropped, and the guy that's won the putting stats the last 2 years. Anyway, I'll think of it. He's that kind of guy. He wins with his putter.
Yep.
He's a positive 4, 5, 6 guy with his putter. He's a good around the green player. His approach game is subpar. Right. And off the tee, he's certainly going to lose strokes there as well. So he's going to come in here, reasonable ball striking week, solid putting week. Bizetten, I could see, could compete here. Tringali hasn't played here since 2016. Are we done with the Tringali train, or what do we think?
Oh, I'm never off Cameron Tringali. That's
okay.
My guy. I love. Yeah, I mean, I will say, look, and by the way, on Bez, the other thing too, he gained 3.2 strokes on approach last year at the Memorial. That's what you need to get from him. You need to get 2.5 plus on approach. And if he does that, he's going to compete. He's going to be in that top 20 range. With Tringali, he's lost strokes 3 straight off the tee. That is extremely concerning. And his approach game has not been up to where we sort of expect. You want to see, the 3 strokes plus. He's had 2.3, lost a fraction of a stroke at the PGA. I might be off Tringali here. I don't. The approach is concerning. If he's not striping it into these greens, he's probably not going to win big with his putter, although he has putted fairly well the last few weeks.
All right, we'll move on. Streelman, I'll stop us there. 75. You got to play Streelman right now.
I'm in on Streelman for this one.
Yeah, he's playing well. 20th at the Charles Schwab, 8th at the PGA. Streelman is hitting the ball really well right now, off the tee and his irons, and his putter is always, tracking just above probably average. Short game always tracks just under average, but ball striking, he's on a heater right now, 4th and 19 here. He's played well. I think Streelman will be certainly in a lot of my lineups. There's Max Homa at 75. Stuart Sink, 75.
I can't play Stuart Sink. I just can't. I can't ever do it. I feel bad. Like, he's a great guy, but he ruined the Tom Watson British Open, and he's stolen money from me in those 2 wins he's got these last few years.
Mickelson and Sink are just playing on house money right now.
Crazy, man.
It's just like, you know what? We've got all the money in the world. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put my son on my bag.
Yeah, why not?
Mickelson's like, I'm going to put my glasses on. Yeah, I'm going to drink coffee all day. Like, I'm just going to start messing with people.
I think I'm going to try that coffee diet, by the way. I'm trying to lose like 10 pounds before my 40th birthday. I think I'm going to do a 6-day coffee cleanse.
Let me know how it goes. Maybe I'll follow you.
My wife was like, I'm not living with you while you do that. It sounds like hell on earth. No way, pal.
But we joke about it, but it's like, that's what I said with Sink. Stuart Sink won the Open Championship, for crying out loud. And we know Mickelson's one of the best players to ever play. And they start playing there's free will in it. Like, when you can free will it and be like, yeah, I can miss 4 cuts in a row and it's not that big of a deal.
Did you see that graphic they threw up as Phil's about to win at Kiowa? It's like the oldest major winners is like old Tom Morris. He's like 46 years old. He looked like he was 97. And if Phil's out here like slim as can be, pounding coffee, jumping all over the place. It's wild, man.
There's Kuchar, 74. He's played well here.
Yep. Kuch, as I mentioned earlier, in the last 50 rounds, and he's got 50 rounds that qualify for this. Tied for first, strokes gained at all Jack courses, no weakness whatsoever. Even 31st off the tee. Kuchar has been kind of coming around, and I don't think anybody wants to get in on him. So I will very likely have some Matt Kuchar in this tournament.
Yeah, I agree with all that right there. I think so far for me, Bubba, Streelman, and Kuchar are the 3 names that I really like here in the 7,000. Charles Schwartzel, or no, wait a minute. Matt Wallace.
Matt Wallace is a name to look for
7,400. T4 last year, stayed in the United States, been playing some very good golf. Charles Schwartzel playing very good golf, 7,400. He's missed the cut here the last 2 times he's played. But different guy.
Yep.
Different guy. No question about it. Coming in. Schwartzel's been good to me this year. I've been on him most of the time. I'm going to take a little deeper dive with Schwartzel. I'm not ready to commit at 74, but I'd like to look a little bit closer. He did finish 11th and 16. Siwoo Kim, 7,300. Pete Dye specialist. Is he a Jack Nicklaus specialist?
Yeah, he's better on bent than a lot of other surfaces, but he's lost on approach the last 2 tournaments. And really, since that Masters putter thing, made the cut at the RBC, finished 33rd, 55th at the Byron, lost strokes on approach, lost strokes off the tee, and then misses the cut at the PGA and loses strokes on approach. I sort of wonder if that whole Masters thing didn't kind of get in his head a little bit. I love Siwoo. I hit him outright earlier this year. I will probably pass here.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go down that path with you. How about this name? Patton Kazire, 7,300. You want to talk about maybe completely underrated at this point?
Yeah.
How does 3rd at the Byron and 3rd at the Schwab sound last 2 times out?
Just playing great golf right now. Really since that miscut, he had 9th at the Valera earlier this year. Only two miscuts dating back to, geez, Louise, like all the way back to September of 2020. That's for that price to get him, and you feel like you're there. Of course, he missed the cut at the RBC, but he's gaining 12 strokes gained on approach his last 2 tournaments, putting really well.
Yeah,
okay around the greens. I could get into some Kazire. It feels like, I don't want to say Patton Kazire feels safe, but maybe.
Yeah, he's that Bermuda guy.
Yeah.
Went to Auburn. You see a lot of that. These SEC players,
Yeah.
very good on Bermuda greens, and then you get into the bent. The splits are a little bit different. I think I need to look at Kazire. Not great track record here. Henley, 7,200, has played okay here. Glover has really had a pretty darn good year. 72, plays here every year. Nothing special though. Although I think Lucas Glover, as we've talked about in the past, is at least moving towards when he won the U.S. Open, that kind of form, versus I think there for 2 or 3 years, Lucas Glover was pretty irrelevant.
Yeah, for sure.
With his play, but I like where he's going. I'll probably pass here though. Brennan Todd, 7,200. We saw him on TV a little bit last week, finished 22nd last year. Can I sell you on Todd?
I'm not a huge Brendan Todd guy, but no, probably not.
Okay.
He'll probably end up top 25 and I won't have any of them. It's just, there is a little bit of safety there though. Like he's going to putt well. He's not going to have a blow up hole, you don't think, but he doesn't feel like he has a ton of win equity.
So here's the most interesting name perhaps in the board. Doug Gim, 7,200. Ball striking machine. Good, really good ball striker, right? Went to Texas. Can't putt to the ocean. But in particular on Bermuda. The guy is absolutely awful on Bermuda. I mean, maybe the worst putter on the PGA Tour on Bermuda. But bent, reasonable. I think Doug Gim's interesting. I really do. First time he's ever played here. I'm gonna play Doug Gim, and I'll probably sprinkle a little bit to win too, just as a
wow, spicy. Doug Gim, I feel like I never get right. It's an upside play. Like I don't mind it. I think 2 missed cuts in his last 3. He's been kind of chalky lately. Finished top 15 at Charles Schwab. So I don't think a ton of people will be on him. You're right. He's an awful putter. I will probably convince myself some Doug Gim on Wednesday night. But I think your point, you're like, I want to take a deeper dive on this guy. That's what the 7Ks are about. I mean, this is where you're going to win, these tournaments, is by taking deep dives on these guys and figuring out who can pop here.
Let's have a putting week, Doug Gim, on bent grass this week.
Good luck.
110 to 1, DraftKings Sportsbook to win. Bubba Watson's 100 to 1. Kuchar 100 to 1. Wallace 85. Adam Scott, well, we mentioned that, 85. Cameron Davis, Taylor Gooch, we're getting to those names now as we work down. Matt Jones, 71.
Cam's a bent specialist and has actually been putting pretty well. His around the game green is just, his around the green game is just terrible. I'm a big Cam Davis fan.
Yeah.
I'm worried if he's not hyping his irons, and they've been hit or miss really the last 6 weeks, then he could be in trouble.
I feel like we're losing patience with Cameron Davis.
Yeah, we are.
He kind of has that modern game look, someone to look at coming into the season. I think he's under-delivered to some degree, as we missed a few names. Matt Jones, easy to skip over him. He's only won this year. Got a T20 back in 16. Sebastian Munoz played terrific golf last week, but very inconsistent is Munoz.
Very.
Boy, can he go back-to-back weeks? Finished, let's see, Munoz played last year, finished T48. Then you got 2 names, Varner.
Oh, Lord. Yeah, Munoz gained 10.2 strokes gained putting last week. Out. Hard out this week.
Yeah, exactly. That's wow. Yeah, see, that's why you do the deep dive, folks, right there.
Harold Varner's a local guy for me, and I love HV3. Not a fantastic putter at all. Certainly a specialist on approach, just an absolute ball striker. When it comes to that, a little erratic. I know that he was geared up for the Wells Fargo. He treated the Wells Fargo, as a local North Carolina guy, like his Super Bowl. It was like a fifth major for him.
Right.
This is the cut there. His bounced back nicely. Bounced back okay. Made the cut PGA and Charles Schwab. I think he just had a kid too right before the Wells Fargo.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, as a father of, I've got a child who's 7, but I mean, I know that, you're not getting a lot of sleep. Like the people talk about the baby bounce. I mean, like I think when you have that first kid, you are, golf is obviously your job, but it becomes a little bit secondary. You don't get the paternity leave from the PGA Tour that you really probably need, like 2 or 3 weeks off to kind of acclimate to life. So I will probably pass on Varner, although certainly if he gets hot with those irons or putts at all, he can contend.
Yeah, Taylor Gooch's been good to me. I've played him appropriately this year. I'll probably pass. KH Lee 7,000, Davis 7,000. I'll pass. Aaron Wise, 7,000, we know can go with the ball striking. Putter, he hasn't played well here. He's missed the cut both the times he's played. I think Charles Howe's interesting at 7,000. Has made the cut here a number of times. And can he maybe look to move that? Because we're getting into that range now, 7,000 as we get into the sixes. Now we need to make the cut.
Yeah.
And we need a top 30, right? And we that's kind of what we're looking for. Can Charles Howe give that to you? I think he can.
He's been playing some good. Charles Howe is like 15th all time in PGA history in terms of earnings. It's something. There's some crazy stat. The guy just is a cash cow. They're not a very good bent greens putter, and has lost strokes on approach in 4 straight, including 4.7 on approach at the Byron Nelson. That's a little concerning.
Yeah, that is concerning. Yeah. Carlos Ortiz at 7,000 made the cut last year, missed it 19. I think in the sevens, where my eyes are going, and certainly a couple more to look at. I like Doug Gim. I'm willing to roll the dice with Gim. First time here, his ball striking on bent grass. I definitely will be playing some Kuchar. I'll definitely be playing some Streelman. I'll definitely be playing some Bubba. And I think I'll probably convince myself of Lucas Glover like I always do.
I'm looking at Matt Wallace, Matt Kuchar, Kevin Streelman. We're all bundled very closely as I scroll through this app as sort of the guys in that range that I'll be targeting. I think Leishman and Bubba and Adam Scott up at the top of the price point are also worth looking at.
Yeah, some of the stats that I have, we'll look at Fantasy National, and I've got strokes gained approach. You always got to weigh out so heavy, and you certainly got to win around the greens a little bit and putting. But I always like to look at opportunities gained. How many, who's getting the looks consistently. I think that 175, maybe 150 to 175, 175 to 200 is a range. The bigger par fours, 450 to 500. Those are some of the key metrics that are kind of driving some of my decisions, as people like to know, with some of the key metrics that you're looking at. And it's always interesting then to look at last 24 rounds, which is not everything, or last 12 rounds coming in, who are on the heaters, because we know golf can be like that. It's hard to play great golf all the time. So who are the ones showing form, and who are the ones that's always the difficult is you go over the last 50 rounds and you see those bigger names pop up that are, the guys that, are going to come back around. Like we saw Cantley last week, right? They're going to come back around. They're just too good. And so you're always trying to balance that out, as far as
when you want to be early, you want to be early on those guys, I think it was maybe Pat Mayo I listened to, and he's like, if you go with the Brooks Cantley lineups at the PGA, you're going to be on an island. And he was right. And that's, if you'd gone with Brooks Cantley, and then, maybe you need to get some fill, but you could have, that's being able to get ahead of the curve in terms of getting on those top tier golfers who are maybe struggling a little bit as they turn the corner. That's the key here. You want to be on, you don't want to be on Cantley after he's won and he's 20%. You want to be on him when he's 6%, 7%, 8%. I'm curious, do you think that we'll see, I'm trying to remember last year when Romp won at 9 under, he shot, Sunday the wind must have been blowing.
It was brutal. 30 miles.
Yeah, these scores on Sunday. I mean, Romp shot a 75 and won by 3 strokes.
And they were letting the course go, remember? It was just
that's right. So
it was one of the hardest conditions ever.
That's right. Yeah. Do you think that we see something closer to 2019 when Cantley won at 19 under, Adam Scott 17, and guys in the tons of guys 10 under or better, or do you think it's somewhere closer to 9? I haven't looked at weather in full.
Yeah, I haven't looked at the weather completely, and that'll drive that, of course, the wind. But it feels, in the 16 range.
Okay, so something in the middle there.
Yeah. That's what it feels like, in the 16 range. We're not going to see what we saw last year by any stretch at the end. They let it go. I mean, it was burning out. The backos were ready to come in and start. I mean, the greens were like dead.
They're carving up the first fairway. It's like Rom's holding a trophy.
That's not what it was like.
Jack couldn't stop himself. He's like, we got to get ready next year. Early weather look. And obviously I'm not a meteorologist. I leave my bad picks for football, but looks like the weather, maybe some rain on Thursday, but nothing above 10 miles an hour over the whole course of the weekend right now. Subject to change, of course, but if that's the case, then I think we'll see something closer to 16.
Yeah. 16. I mean, you go a little softer, then you go softer, then you're going to go 18, 19, now you're going to start pushing on that 20 number closer.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that's important too when you look at a tournament like this, you go back to 2020 and you see Matthew Fitzpatrick's name up there, and you're thinking, man, could this guy make some noise? Matt Wallace. I mentioned the international guys. Some of these guys, Fitzpatrick shot a 68 on Sunday, and he's a win player, right? Matt Wallace is a win player. And so if you're not dealing with as much wind and you're getting softer conditions, maybe it's more conducive for scoring for a guy like a Tony Finau or, a Patrick Reed or a John Rahm. So, not that those guys can't play in the wind, but if there's not bad weather popping up over the weekend, you might not see as many of those sort of windy names pop up.
Yeah. Yep. No, that's a fair point. All right. 6,000s. Got to give them each a couple names now to think about in the 6s. You go first. Give me a name.
Man, I'm looking through this, and I want to stop myself from saying Harry Higgs, but I'll never stop myself from saying. Actually, I don't think Higgs is a great player. I love Harry Higgs. He's one of my favorite golfers out there right now. I actually think that there is a case, and there's a little bit of course history here, but and maybe I'm probably going to get burnt. I know I'll get burnt by this eventually. But Benny On finished he was in the playoff, I believe, with Bryson, Kyle Stanley in 2018. And Benny, terrible putter, acknowledged a terrible putter, openly admits a terrible putter, has been shaky in his form recently. But has been really good around the greens over his last 6 events, positive strokes gained. Maybe, with a little bit of course history, maybe he putts better here. The strokes gained on his approach is a little concerning, but I thought he sort of found something at the Charles Schwab. Didn't finish 50th, so nothing crazy. But if he's starting to flip it around a little bit after a really rough stretch, he's a guy who can, because of his upside is so huge at that price tag, it's probably miscutter top 10. Yeah. But I'm willing to take that chance, especially if he's going to be sub 5%.
Okay, how about how can we not go with Kyle Stanley?
Oh yes, that's the other name. Good call. Oh,
6,100.
Yep.
Yeah, 6,100.
He was a late ad. I think Zalatoris withdrew and Stanley got a sponsor's exemption, maybe.
Yeah,
and that's why he's priced that way on DraftKings. I would venture a guess that he will be extremely popular.
I mean, he's going to be well played for sure. I mean, he finished 2nd in 18, 6th in 2017, 6,100, played very well last week.
Yep.
Iron game has been absolutely through the roof. I'll tell you another name there at 61. I think it was late also was Russell Knox.
Yep.
I played Russell last week. I actually had him on the podcast last week at Columbus.
Nice.
And
had
a good chat with him.
You're from Russell Knox to Will Brinson. That's rough.
Yeah, well, it's 5 days a week here on the Stripe Show.
I know. Well, you had my man Gup on too, right?
Yeah. Gup's been on a couple times.
Yeah, that's my dude.
And this show's been we've been doing okay here on this show. We didn't have a good PGA week. That kind of hurt.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, gosh, Russell, we were talking, he's trending. I was a little surprised, missed the cut by one last week. T27 in 2019. And just looking at the 6100s, you got Stanley and Knox. I'm like, okay. I'm
not usually a bottom up lineup builder, but if you start a lineup with Kyle Stanley and Russell Knox, you can do whatever the hell you want.
Right.
You're building out. You got carte blanche to add. To add dudes up in that top range, and you're right. Really been just outstanding with the irons. Has gained strokes on approach in 8 straight events. Not necessarily a great putter, but can kind of turn it on and get hot. And has course history here. If he drives, like you say, open fairway should be fine there. I absolutely play some Russell Knox.
Who else you got there? You got another name in the 6,000s that you could?
We can't.
This is the pick. This is the pick. This is the one that wins it all right here.
Yeah, that's right. Yep. Matthew Neesmith was my guy.
Okay.
No, I'm not taking him here. I'm saying he was my guy. Like, you always got to know those guys. Yeah. I think. Oh boy. We can't do McGirt, right? That's a mistake. He's gonna be like top 5, and I'm gonna be kicking myself if I don't play him. Peter Malnati has been playing well, but no, actually, he's not been playing well the last couple of weeks. Man,
Malnati he's been. He had
a little hot run there. I guess he had that 10th at the Farmers and then sort of fallen off a cliff. Yeah, I think I'll be looking at. It's Benny on, Kyle Stanley, and Russell Knox for me. I need to look at. I'll probably take a little look at Brandon Steele, and Camilo Villegas has actually been playing really well. I'm sort of off the cuff here. I have not looked at their performance at these Jack courses or here. Mackenzie Hughes, top 10 last year, I believe. Mm-hmm. So that'd be a name I would look at. And Wyndham Clark has been playing some pretty good golf. I have not looked at all of their course history. Wyndham Clark, not great on Jack courses, but certainly those are guys. I think too, if you're willing to take a risk with some of these guys in that 6,000 range, mm-hmm. They're not going to be chalky. It's just they're not going to be, highly rostered. And,
no. Well, except for Kyle Stanley, maybe.
Kyle Stanley might, right? Yeah.
Denny McCarthy was the guy I was trying to think of, the putter.
Oh yeah,
Denny McCarthy. That's the player. Yeah. So in my model here, we'll finish up with this. You've got as I was talking about strokes gain, highly weighted out in approach, and then just under that putting and around the green, and then under that off the tee, par 4, 450 to 500, opportunities gained, fairways gained. In the 6,000s, just the hottest players, right? Last 12 coming in, let's say. Troy Merritt's 1 in the 6,000s. Kyle Stanley's 2. Tyler McCumber's 3. CT Pond is 4. Luke List 5. Russell Knox 6. Martin Laird. Richie Rinsky. Michael Thompson, who I was on last week. And Alexander Norton. So those are some names. And then Joel Damon.
Thompson exploded on Friday.
I know it.
Like bad.
I know it. It really just pissed me off too.
Like me at a Muni explosion. Just an ugly round from Michael Thompson.
This is good, Will. Like, we've given people something to think about here. In some ways, like, we've put a lot of research into this already, but then as you go through it and you're making notes and you're like, okay, I want to look at that a little bit closer. And of course, I don't put the final lineups together until Wednesday. Same. But the weather looks good. Soft conditions. Great field. The cool thing about this course is you can get some first-time winners here. You can get some I don't want to say no names, but no names. And then you can get, the big guys too. And then they can win here. So this is it's a championship. It's a big-time golf course that can kind of fall a number of different ways. And I think it'll be interesting to see how they set it up. It certainly won't be like it was last year, but Jack's got, I think, a little more length to work with this year, and they made some other changes. So it'll be fun to see how the course looks this year after the changes that they made a year ago.
Yeah, I would tell people to go check out that flyover on Jack's, just a flyover of various holes that they changed. I think, I don't remember, this is purely anecdotal, so don't stick with it. But somebody was saying that maybe the changes in the way that they move the tee boxes and the way that Jack changed up some of the sight lines off the tee is sort of designed to allow shorter hitters, maybe give bombers less of an advantage.
Okay.
So, and again, this is gonna be a tough week because this is a course we have a ton of history on, particularly since the restart. But as you point out, it's a brand new course. They completely redesigned it, and so I think it'll look gorgeous on TV. I think Jack's probably a little embarrassed by what happened. It was just the course is all burnt out and looking rough last year. The early photo I saw, it looks absolutely pure out there. I'm excited for the tournament and go Kyle Stanley.
Hey, if Doug Gim or Kyle Stanley wins, this might be the last show we ever do because I'll probably be taking like a month off.
I'm out.
Hey, Will Brenton, thank you so much. Go follow him on Twitter at Will Brenton. We'll do it again, man. This was fun. I know football's coming around, so I'll try to get you before September.
Hey, anytime. Let's do it.
Okay. All right, buddy. Thanks again.